Hi there. Today's video is going to be about collage, but actually it's about so much more. It's about form and value. If you find that you are like me, you may find that you draw lines and then you sort of color them in. It's just fine. I do that all the time. This is a watercolor that I've recently been working on from a little picture I took from a neighbor's yard. And if you look closely, you can see the outline of my pencil and then the watercolor over it. Nothing wrong with it, it's just fine. But I do find that I approach drawing and painting with line first and then color in sort of a method. And I think that if I start from a different direction, then I can expand some skill sets. So something I did back in December is I took out a bunch of my old jelly prints. I have a jelly plate or two jelly plates, and then make all these wonderful sort of prints, just color prints, right? You can make a couple different colors or whatever. It doesn't matter. In order to start with form and color and really look at value. And so I made something that I really quite enjoy. And this is a jelly print that was down on the paper, and then collage and painting on the top. Now I found that this really is a much stronger value study than most of my work. So the thing that I'm working on right now, that is what pretty much this video is all about, is another collage in the same fashion, but it's showing the wolf moon that came up on January 13th, I think, mid-January. We had the wolf moon, which is the moon of January, called the wolf moon. And in my case, my husband and I were out on a walk in the night, obviously, and we live in the city. We live in the city of Portland, and it was coming up behind houses. And it was so amazing to see this great big yellow orb coming up behind a house. And I don't walk around with my phone, so I didn't have it on me. But even if I did, you know how the moon is always so much more striking in real life than it can ever show up in a picture. So I thought, what I'm going to do is recreate this in collage. So here's where I'm at. And I'll show you how I got to this point, and then hopefully this video will also show the conclusion, the very end of this project, because this is how far I've gotten, and I need to do a bit more work. So hopefully I can find that time today and get on it. So if you're like me and you're finding that you're line heavy and you're coloring in a lot, maybe grab some magazines, or if you have some beautiful jelly prints, or if you can buy some collage paper, see if slapping some of those down next to one another and starting to play with the form and the values, that is the darks and lights that goes next to one another, helps to inform your practice. All right, here's let's get into it. Let's get into it. This is what it's all about. All right. Hey, okay, we're on to the next day. I've been working on this collage, and it's up to this level right now, which I love. And the most interesting thing happened the other night. I was showing this to my teenage boys, and they're like, "Oh, Mom, like, you've gone next level." They love this, and they said, don't even do another thing. And I'm like, no, I have to do more, because this is like the moonrise behind this big house. I need to do the rest of the house. They're like, no, it's good by itself. I'm like, what is it? Is it just the high contrast that you love? Because what I'm loving these days is maybe less of a high contrast. So I wanted to show you like the things that I'm loving versus the things they're loving. And like, what is I feel like that there could be a psychological reason for the difference. Okay, so here's one of the things that I'm loving, something that I did in my sketchbook. And it does have some high contrast, and it does have some collage, but it also has some watercolor. That's the watercolor start. That's one thing that I'm loving right now. I also love this, which is almost all watercolor and very sketchy, just very like, she's very expressive, but she's not very perfect or beautiful. And the whole point of the whole exercise here was visual weight. It was like, where is the push and pull, and like, how do we maybe accentuate the visual weight with line? Anyway, maybe it's just my experience of making something that makes me love something that I've made. But here's my psychological like thought, and maybe you can weigh in on whether you think like this is valid or not. I feel like my teenagers like stuff like this because it is more representational and more clear. And I think when you're 15, you're confronted with everything that is changing and new all the time. Like, rules change in your life. If you can imagine, from the time that you're 10 to the time that you're 20, the rules in your life change so dramatically that you're just in a constant state of upheaval. Whereas in my age bracket, which is I'm about to turn 50, I don't feel like the rules have changed appreciably. Yeah, they haven't changed appreciably, really, for the last 20 or 30 years. Like, not the way that they did between 10 and 20. Things changed, and so I think that what I like has a little bit less to do with the representation of something, because it's more like, what could this thing be? How could it evolve and grow into something? What do I see in a piece of this that could turn into something else that's interesting? Instead of the very representational, high contrast. I like this thing too, and I'm working on it, and I'm going to finish it, because it's also a memory of that full wolf moon last night and the night before. Anyway, let me know what you think, if you feel like there's like maybe a similarity between people as they change and grow in what they like to see, and if it has anything to do with what is going on at their stage of life. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. All right. Done as it's gonna be, because it is past 2 and it's time to do something else. but here we are. Dun, dun, dun. I love it. Things that I found super interesting is that when I started putting more of the details in, things started to pop out more, like this high contrast area down here really sort of pops this side. And then I found a watercolored like blackbird that really helped because I needed something to bring into the foreground, and I'd also had gone over the edge of the print on this side. So this seems to balance it, having it going over the edge on this side or at this corner. And then the final thing that that came to me is that at the bottom, I still had the blue black of the night shining down at the bottom, but not really enough papers or maybe interest in getting a lot of browns down here. So all I did was to connect it down to the white, and I feel like it reads just fine, even though there is the blue black of the night under the house. I feel like it reads just fine because of this one piece that is doing it this way. And I made the pattern vertical here, which I think does something, maybe because often we see like reeds or grasses or plants that are like vertical, so maybe that feels right because of that. Anyway, there we are, all done. Now I just need to stitch this video together. If you love these kind of process videos, that's basically all my channel is about, so go back and look through. Mostly I just show what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. Lots of times it's not collage, but I feel like this kind of exercise, if you're used to drawing and then painting, I think give it a try. This kind of exercise is really good for seeing things in chunks, seeing things in bigger shapes, and also making sure that values are really coming up to the front. All right, I'll see you on the next one. Bye.